we're back for the second video interviewing Angus on what it was like as a father watching his daughter battle a really tragic drug addiction. Angus, I want to know for you because I mean I sort of watched the story from afar, but used to hear some of the things, and you know it's probably different, a mom versus a dad. But what was your biggest fear for Kate while she was using? What was
Oh,
your biggest
my
fear?
biggest fear was that she would end up in Pollsmoor.
Tell the people what
Um,
that is,
and
because they
that's a
might not be
jail
familiar.
down here in Cape Town.
Tell us also why you thought she might be. Why was it actually a legitimate fear?
Well, because she was in court very often for a whole variety of things.
So
And
where did the drug addiction lead her? Because for most parents here, they'll switch off because they'll go, my kid would never get to that place. Even if they end up making a few bad decisions, they're not going to end up being at risk of jail. But how does a good kid who's competitive in sport end up
in
being
jail
in going to jail or getting risk of being
by
arrested and all of
breaking the
that?
law
And why do addicts break the law?
because they need the money to fund their drug addiction.
Okay.
And let's give you an example. Kate pulled into a petrol station with some guy who was feeding her drugs and asked him to fill up with petrol and she would pay for it, and she didn't. And the owner of the filling station laid a charge and would not, absolutely refuse to withdraw the charge. So she was in court.
And so this is
And
where it can lead, because if you don't have the funds that you've got yourself to spend, you've got to come up with another way.
absolutely,
And inevitably it's going to lead to some form of criminal activity, which
for
probably
sure,
only escalates.
which can lead to jail time.
Right.
And that's a terrifying prospect, I think, for any parent. But that was my biggest fear. Yeah.
Mm. And that's not something you ever expect to fear for your children, that they'll go to jail. And especially knowing Kate as I knew her as a child and as a young teenager, it's just so hard to comprehend that somebody could end up in those kind of circumstances. Angus, just as we tail off, you want to give a message to some parents on something that you think is really important. What would that be?
Yeah, I think I discovered very early that the biggest enabler of drug usage is actually a cell phone because obviously they're contacting dealers to supply them with drugs, and it's a bit like ordering a pizza. You know, mum and dad go out and leave their children at home, and they can pick up a phone and order whatever drug, and it's delivered to the front door. And that's a very frightening prospect, in the sense that a lot of these dealers did in fact deliver to the front door.
It's like a Uber Eats. Now, this, keeping in mind, this is going back 10, 15 years already.
Yeah.
And so the access children have to phones and messages that disappear and all the
Mm.
rest of it.
I would say to parents, if you are paying for the phone, you should make it very clear from day one that you have the right to access that phone at any time. And it needs to be a contract really between you and your teenage child. And they must understand that you have every right to access that phone. I would also strongly urge parents to have a tracker put on the phone, um, if need be without the child's knowledge, because if they know about it, you know, they can just swap phones with people. So make very sure that and that you do police the phone regularly, that you don't just give them a phone and sort of once every 3 months have a look at the phone. You need to access that phone at any time, day or night, and I would suggest 2, 3 times a week if need be. So the cell phone is, I think, one of the biggest enablers that are available to teenagers who are using drugs.
So, and I think that would be quite hard for teenagers to accept because it in their mind it will say that you don't trust them. But the reality is yeah, we live in an unsafe world, and teenagers um, don't always make the right decisions, and that's the role of a parent, right? It's a hard one to make, but it could save your child's life. I'm going to end it there for now, and we'll be back again soon. Bye for now.